Hi, welcome to Crohn's and Colitis Connect. I'm Jacqueline Leach.
And I'm Katie Schmidt, and this is our February show.
Yes.
We can officially not say Happy New Year anymore.
We can't.
No.
We're moving on.
We're moving on.
March is next week.
But we've got a good show.
We do. We have so many fun guests on today that I'm excited
we have a
about.
full house.
Yes.
So it's February,
It
the
is.
month of love. Did you have a
Yes.
good Valentine's Day?
Pretty uneventful.
Yeah. Same. We're phoning it in.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
cook
More
some
about
dinner.
put the kids' party treats together and
I know. The Valentine's situation
Yeah.
in the elementary school is real. It's a lot of work on the mom.
it's,
But we made it through.
and that's why no one else got a present.
Understand. I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
But anyways, so on that kind of thread, we're talking about loving yourself.
Yes.
You can be your best Valentine.
You can and you should be.
You should be.
And today we're focusing on mental health, which is
Yeah.
super important. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation just launched some really great new resources on mental health and IBD that you'll be hearing about later in the show. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, we're also going to be talking about our craft event.
Yes.
Which is a really fun way to love yourself.
Yes.
To buy yourself a ticket.
And
have
a
a craft
date night.
Yeah.
Or 10 craft cocktails. It's such a fun event. It's our third year, and we're so excited. This year presented by Celebrity Cruises. So
Yeah, so you'll get to hear from our own Marie, and we've got Letitia Johnson also on the show today to give you more information about the craft event.
yeah. So stay tuned, you guys. And up next, we have Dr. Lily Eitel, with a pediatric psychologist with Children's Health and UT Southwestern.
Hey, welcome back. And I'm sitting with Dr. Lily Eitel, a pediatric psychologist from Children's Health and UT Southwestern. Thank you so much for taking the time today to speak to us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so as you heard, we're really diving into mental health this month. And Lily, we've seen more studies are showing that people living with IBD might be at an increased risk for depression and anxiety. Can you talk to us a little bit about the research behind that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's been a lot of research really documenting that individuals with IBD have higher rates of anxiety and depression.
Okay.
Some of those studies show us that the rate is about 2 times more than the general
wow.
population. So it's
Okay.
it's the real deal.
Yeah.
Some of the more recent research I think is really interesting because it's looking at factors or characteristics that put those individuals at risk. And
Okay.
so recently there's been a study that looked at, or that found that there were 4 independent predictors of developing anxiety and depression in the IBD population. And
Okay.
so being female was one of them, being a tobacco user was one of them, having extraintestinal manifestations of the disease, so having like arthritis or a dermatological condition or something like that that's a result of the disease. And then lastly is having a previous surgery that was IBD related.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And not surprisingly, I think anyone who's known someone who has IBD or has a diagnosis themselves, we see that anxiety and depression rates are higher when people are in an active disease flare as opposed to when they're in remission.
Sure, sure. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So talk to us about what it might look like. What would anxiety, depression look like in a patient with IBD?
Sure. So depression, some of the things that we see a lot of are sad and depressed mood for a period of time, 2 weeks or so. In kids and adolescents, and it can actually look more like irritability. So it doesn't always look like sort of what you see in the movies or TV of just sadness and not being able to get out of bed. It can be that real irritable, easily annoyed by things type of situation. Also, some other symptoms are not wanting to leave the house much, just sort of socially withdrawing from family and from friends, not really being interested in doing activities that typically you would want to be doing or you'd see your child doing, things like that. Difficulties with sleep can be a sign, or sleep disturbance, changes in appetite, difficulties with concentration. And then for anxiety, some of the symptoms overlap. The difficulty with concentration, being easily fatigued, those sorts of symptoms. But with anxiety, there's this excessive worry that's really difficult to control. So even when you're trying to maybe get it out of your mind, you're not able to sort of put it aside, and it starts to have an effect on relationships, on your physical health.
Okay. Thank you for sharing those, because we've got a lot of parents that watch the show, and so I think it's so important that they can know the signs and recognize kind of what to watch for.
And it's really tricky too. I think sometimes because some of the symptoms of an active IBD flare actually are the same symptoms that are diagnostic criteria for anxiety and depression. Like when you're in an active disease flare, you may not want to go out of the home as much, and you may be more tired, or you may be losing weight or have loss of appetite. So it can be really tricky to tease apart.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for those tips. So the other thing I wanted to chat with you about is, we've been hearing and seeing a lot of talk about the gut-brain axis. And what that effect can have on our mental health. So first off, can you explain what is the gut-brain axis?
Sure. The gut-brain axis is this bidirectional pathway that connects our central nervous system, like our brain and spinal cord, to our enteric nervous system, which is all of the nerves in the gut. Okay. And so through this pathway, the brain and the gut are constantly communicating, and they're communicating through neurotransmitters and other biochemicals. And so I think the easiest way to think of the brain-gut connection or brain-gut axis is anyone who's ever experienced that feeling of butterflies in their stomach when they're really excited, or when something really scary happens, you sort of feel nauseated, or just like you need to go to the bathroom, or something like that. The communication is essentially like instantaneous. And so this is particularly important for individuals with IBD or with any gastrointestinal issue, because research has shown us that stress can actually lead to, the stress is communicated to the gut, and it can lead to actual physical changes in the gut, such as it can affect GI motility, it can affect secretion, it can affect the inflammatory response, which is particularly important in IBD. And so it's just really important. And then there's research to also show that individuals with IBD, when they are more stressed out or they've had stressful life events, that can be related to disease flares. And so this is why there's this talk about the brain-gut axis, and why it's so important to be monitoring and managing your stress when you have this disease, because there's just this undeniable connection.
Okay, got it. So can you share with us maybe some tips or tricks to manage that stress, especially if you are suffering with depression and anxiety? What steps can you take to kind of help that situation?
So if it is a formal diagnosis, it's getting to the point where it's impacting your daily life, you're having difficulty attending school, going to work, those sorts of things. The two most common treatments are medication management and therapy. Research shows us that, research shows us that the most effective treatment is actually a combination of both medication and a specific type of therapy called cognitive behavior therapy. And so some individuals choose to just go the medication route, some choose to go the therapy route. Some don't want to be on any more medication.
Right.
And so it's really a personal decision and a decision you make with your doctor about what's going to be most appropriate. And I think more informally, if there's not a formal diagnosis, things that you can do just to sort of promote your mental health and help reduce stress are exercising on a regular basis, socializing with friends, just engaging in really any activities that you really enjoy will help reduce some of that stress.
Okay. You know, and along those same lines, you know, the foundation offers a camp for children, Camp Oasis, and I feel like that might be a good way to socialize and get to know, especially our pediatric patients.
Yes, it is fantastic. I've been to camp a few years now, and it is. I had heard about it from some of my patients, and they described it as life-changing, and I went and saw with my own eyes, and it's an incredible place to get support when you have a child who has this disease and doesn't know many people with it, and so it can be a great source of support and stress relief.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much again for coming on the show and talking to us. We are still accepting camp applications, so if you do have a child with IBD, please look us up online and submit those applications. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Up next, we've got Alicia with Get Connected.
Hi everyone, I'm Alicia and I'm your education manager, and this month I'm going to talk about a really important topic, and that is emotional and mental wellness. This is a really key topic for, frankly, any of us, but in particular people living with chronic diseases, chronic illnesses like Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, because research is showing that people living with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis are more likely to experience symptoms of depression and anxiety, and in particular around times when they are symptomatic, or so when they're experiencing flares. So I think it's really important that we cover this topic so that you understand what are the symptoms of these things, and then how do you combat them. So I'm going to take you to this extremely long web address. You're going to go to our website and, frankly, go to the search bar, and that's in the top right-hand corner, and just type in mental and emotional wellness, and you'll get to this section. So you're going to get to mental health in particular. And this is a really great section where we've collated a lot of our resources into one section where there are 7 subcategories. I'm going to talk about each of those subcategories briefly, just to give you an idea of what to expect. So the first one is called feeling sad and depressed. And this gives you just a really nice overview of what are the symptoms of depression, when are they problematic, and when are they just maybe something that you're experiencing now and it's situational, and what can you do about it? What are some treatment techniques that are often used? So really nice way to just get some information about what is depression. So if you're experiencing sadness and it lasts more than a couple of weeks, you might want to take a look at this and see if there are other symptoms that you might be experiencing, and if this is something that you happen to be dealing with. The next section is called feelings, stress, and anxiety. I covered some of these resources about a year ago now, but nice thing is they're now all in one place along with all the rest of this information. So in this section, you're going to learn about what is stress, what are the symptoms of it, what's anxiety, and what are the symptoms of that, and sort of how do you cope with that. So there's a really great video series on there by a psychologist who treats people living with inflammatory bowel disease, and it gives you some videos about understanding stress, how it affects your health, how it affects your sleep, what's the GI stress cycle, and then how do you manage that? So gives you some tools right there, but it also helps you recognize what is this and how is it maybe interplaying with your other symptoms coming with your inflammatory bowel disease or your life. The next section is called Challenges of Living with Inflammatory Bowel Disease. And this is a really cool section. I'm very excited about it because it features a lot of videos that are people living with these diseases, or in one case, it's a caregiver whose spouse has this disease. And so it's a really great way for you to learn about some of the social impact or some of the social aspects of your life that could be affected by this disease. So things like your relationships, dating, body image, coping at school, coping at work, and a lot more. So it's a really great section just to kind of hear from some real life people about, what it's like to live with these diseases and sort of what are some ways that they've learned to cope with their diseases. there's actually a really cool new video on there about battling negativity. So you'll hear from some of our National Council of College Leaders talking about battling negativity and things that they do to help cope with their life with these diseases. So it's a really cool section, and it gives you some fact sheets on there too. At the very, very bottom, if you are dealing with some negativity at work or at school, you do have some legal protection. So it'll redirect you to our part of our website that gives you some fact sheets and some tools for that as well. The next section is called Coping Strategies for Better Mental Health. Pretty straightforward. It gives you basically 4 of the most common and most effective strategies of dealing with depression, anxiety, and stress. And the first one is called CBT, and cognitive behavioral therapy. So this is something that you would work with a therapist on. So something a therapist would want to help you with because they're trained on how to do this. And what this does is it helps you stop some negative thoughts when they start to happen. So you start with getting some symptoms and you start to feel really sick. And so then your brain starts going, oh my gosh, now I'm not going to be able to go to school. I'm not going to be able to go to work. And you start going down this spiral of negativity and sort of negative thoughts. Cognitive behavioral therapy will help give you some tools to start recognizing when that spiral starts to happen and helping you stop it so that you can sort of get yourself out of that negative mind frame and get yourself out of that spiral as quickly as possible so that you're better able to cope and you're better able to problem solve when things come up like this. It's really great. And frankly, it's helpful for a lot of other things other than just inflammatory bowel disease and chronic illness. So really helpful technique for you to learn about. There's also some information about gut-directed hypnotherapy, mindfulness-based therapy. You've probably heard a lot about mindfulness. This can be really key for people in general, so it's a good thing to learn. And then also medication management. So if you've gotten to a point place where you've tried a lot of other tools and you've done what you can, there are some medications that can potentially help you if you really, if you need some additional sort of help up, and there's no shame in that at all. So it gives you some information on how to manage their medications. The next section is called Talking to Your Healthcare Team. So do keep in mind that your mental and emotional wellness is an entire piece of you as a patient as a whole. So this is something you should be bringing your healthcare team into, in particular your gastroenterologist. So if you read through feeling sad and depressed section and you read through that stress and anxiety section and you're recognizing some of these symptoms and you're recognizing that this is something you're not coping well with or that you really need help with, please bring your gastroenterology and your healthcare team into this process and let them help you with this. But the nice thing about this section is it's going to give you some tools on how to do that. So it'll give you some pre-work. So before you go into your gastroenterologist appointment, some things to write down, some things to record so that you remember to talk about it when you actually get to your appointment. And then it gives you some tools, a list of things that you could potentially do at your appointment with your gastroenterologist. So how do you bring up your mental health with your gastroenterologist? Because you know they're going to be focused on what's your gut doing and how are you feeling, but making sure you bring this up as an aspect of how you're doing and how you're feeling, and gives you some tools on how to do that and how to bring up this conversation. Then it'll give you some things to do after your appointment, so some follow-ups for you to do. The nice thing too is that it gives you a whole list of questions to ask a therapist. So if you decide to go down the path of talking with a therapist, always advisable, frankly, for all of us. But if you decide you want to talk to a therapist, it's just like any other relationship. This is somebody you're going to have a really intimate conversation with. This is somebody who's going to be helpful to you. So you want to find the person that's going to work best with you and who's going to help you reach the goal that you have. If that goal is to have some better coping skills or to learn cognitive behavioral therapy so you can stop yourself going down that spiral I just said, then make sure you're interviewing the person to find the right fit for you. So it gives you some questions to ask that person to make sure that that's going to be the best person for you. So really cool section. And then there's a whole section called Finding Support That's Right for You. This is going to redirect you to our page about support groups, Power of Two, and our online community. So of course, we have lots of support groups throughout the country that are led by people living with these diseases, or sometimes our mental health and or healthcare professionals also help with that. So look for a support group. It's filled with people just like you who have been through these diseases and who can help. So I definitely encourage you to go visit our fantastic support groups. The other thing is it talks about our Power of Two program. Our Power of Two program is our peer-to-peer mentoring program. So this is a great program if you want to talk one-on-one with somebody and get somebody's personal sort of story and their personal strategy for dealing with their disease. This is a really great option for that. So it gives you information and tells you how to enroll in that. And then it also talks about our online community, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's an online community. It has message boards and sort of discussion forums for you to use so that you can connect with other people online. So cool resources for you there. And finally, in this section, it has a whole part on articles and references. So there are some journal articles. So if you want to read about the science about what are we seeing with inflammatory bowel disease and mental health, you can find some journal articles there, or definitely Google it. There's some really great articles that I found when I was doing a little bit of research on this. And then also it gives you a search tool. So if you decide you want to start talking to a therapist, there's an external search tool on there that will help you find the right person. You can even say, I want to talk to this person with this insurance and somebody who deals with chronic illness. And so you can try to find the person that's going to have the skills that's most closely associated with what you're looking for. So again, this is a super, super important piece of living with inflammatory bowel disease, living with any type of chronic illness, is to make sure that you're managing and monitoring your mental and emotional wellness. So I really hope that you'll take advantage of these tools. The other thing, finally, is to make sure that you always are calling our help center. So if you need anything, if you need help finding a therapist, you need information about these diseases, always feel free to call our help center. It's 1-888-692-8872, or you can email them at info at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org, or always reach out to our staff as well. We're always happy to help. So I hope you'll explore some of these resources and take advantage of them and learn a little bit more about mental health and inflammatory bowel disease. And take care, everyone. I'll talk to you next month.
Thank you, Alicia. And up next, we're so excited to have on today Letitia Johnson, Regional Marketing Manager with Celebrity Cruises.
Hi, thanks.
And Marie Fiddler, our Development Manager. Welcome. We're going to be talking about craft today, and so excited to have you guys on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, fun thing to talk about.
So tell us, Marie, what exactly is craft?
Yeah, so craft is, it's our third annual craft cocktail competition. And we have 10 mixologists that compete to make the best cocktail in Cowtown.
Fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And this year's event is April 26th.
Correct.
Right?
And it's at Mopac Event Center in Fort Worth.
Awesome.
It starts at 6 p.m. And we'll have a silent auction, a Stock the Bar raffle, short program, live auction. So it'll be a ton of fun.
Awesome. And we have the information up right there with the link where you can purchase your tickets today. We are anticipating selling out.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, so buy your tickets soon.
Yes. And this year we're so excited to have presenting sponsor of Celebrity Cruises on board. And new, we have this year's Celebrity Cruises VIP Top Deck. So Letitia, tell us a little bit more about the VIP experience this year.
Absolutely. So I was able to join the event last year. It was such a fun event and a great cause to support. And so I thought it would be really fun to find a way with Marie to do a VIP experience. So this year you'll be able to come at 5 o'clock before the masses get there, meet the celebrity judges and get to taste the cocktails, talk to the bartenders. And there'll be a private tent area, so you can have your own little space to hang out in with this private bar, so you have to wait in line. So the VIP ticket, I think, is really going to be a great benefit for those that choose to do that. And of course, we're going to just surround you with love from Celebrity Cruises in that environment.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And I know it's exclusive. There's not very many VIP tickets being sold this year, so it's definitely going to have a really special experience for those who do come on board, and that's awesome.
Yes.
Well, we are so excited to have Celebrity Cruises on board. And what excites you most about this event and partnering with the foundation?
Well, we as a company really try to support a lot of great, different causes and charitable items out there. We work with the World Wildlife Foundation. We just named Malala to our godmother of the Ed Ship, and so we work with the Malala Foundation for Education for Women. We do Best Buddies, and we bring actually people into work in our Miami offices with the Best Buddies program. So we do a lot of things to give back to our community, and in also just different ways of sustainability. And so here locally, I just have a personal tie and love for the Foundation for Crohn's and Colitis, and thought it was a great way for us to support a local charity in the Dallas-Fort Worth market as well.
Thank you. We are so grateful for that support as well, and you coming on board. Is there anything exciting being launched this year with Celebrity Cruises, or anything you want to spotlight that we could be looking forward to?
Yeah, so we just rolled out a brand new ship. Her name is Edge, and so she is just amazing. And one of the other reasons why I felt like this event would be really attractive for Celebrity Cruises is because you really hit a lot of millennials. And I think sometimes that demographic feels a little old and stodgy and thinks that cruising's for their grandparents, and it absolutely isn't. And Edge will really showcase that. She's all about her technology. You can just enter your room with your cell phone, and just a lot of really cool things that are technology driven, and we're 100% sustainable on the ship. So there's a lot of things that speak to the millennials, and so we're really excited about her coming out. And then now we're putting a $500 million renovation throughout the rest of the fleet to match the look and feel of Edge. So we're really excited about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And I saw those pictures of the ship. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, she is beautiful. Absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. And again, we are so thankful for your support and partnership, and
We're glad to be here.
looking forward to Craft coming up. And
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else we want to make sure we share about the event, but again, tickets are selling now and selling fast. So
Yep, and you can find us on social media under Craft Fort Worth. We're on Facebook and Instagram.
you're right. Yes, we have definitely spotlighting some of those auction items you mentioned, and our different participants. You can get a full list there and see really what to expect. It's going to be a great event.
It is.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for coming on, and thank you everyone for tuning in to this month's show. We appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you next month for Crohn's and Colitis Connect.